Hello everyone, I'm Renske Werner.
And I'm Tom Corbett, and welcome to TulipTV. Renske, what is your connection with Canada?
Well, I moved here 11 years ago from Holland, and I came here to study, and I stayed for love. What about you?
Same sort of story really. I came here 4 years ago for the Olympics and just fell in love with Vancouver and decided to stay.
Great story. We are so happy to finally have a TV show of our own. We think that in this multicultural city, the Dutch definitely deserve a slot on TV.
We are now on air every week on Shaw Multicultural Channel, Channel 116, here in Metro Vancouver, Whistler and Squamish, as well as on YouTube.
Our slots are Saturday afternoon 3:30 p.m. and Sunday morning at 6:30 a.m. Dat is op zaterdagmiddag 3:30 en zondagochtend 6:30.
Zo, dat is erg vroeg. So for those of you who don't watch live TV, don't forget to set your PVRs.
This program is sponsored by Dutch, the full-color English language magazine about the Netherlands and its people, at home and abroad. Canada to Leave is the online community for the Dutch living in Canada and the Canadians living in the Netherlands. Canada to Leave, wherever you live.
There's probably a lot of you wondering, what is TulipTV?
Well, TulipTV was set up basically to embrace the cultural, business and economic ties between Holland and Canada.
This show is for everybody who is Dutch, feels connected to the Dutch, or is interested in the Dutch culture and heritage, either here in Canada or abroad.
So Renske, this heritage between Canada and Holland, where did it originate?
Well, to answer part of that question, we're going to go back in time and we're going to watch a piece of the documentary by Lance Goddard called Canada and the Liberation of the Netherlands, in which the filmmaker travels through Canada and Holland collecting stories from World War II veterans.
Liberation for the Netherlands came on May 5th, 1945, 3 days prior to VE Day. It was the answer to Dutch prayers, as 5 years of oppression had ended and precious food was being delivered to end the starvation. The euphoric reaction of the Dutch was staggering.
Well, we heard something like a rumbling, and here came a tank from the Canadians.
I remember clearly the mood of total excitement, exhilaration, relief and joy.
Liberation came, the church bells were ringing, and my mom and I stood on the sidewalk and we held hands and cried.
The liberation of the Netherlands was difficult. The Canadian soldiers had fought valiantly through some of the most difficult conditions imaginable in an effort to free the Dutch. That bravery and conviction led to a bond of friendship that has lasted generations.
And now to the present day. Did you know that Holland is Canada's second largest trading partner and that over 1 million people in Canada are of Dutch descent?
One of our colleagues recently was in Ottawa to talk to our ambassador Wim Geerts, and he agreed to a very spontaneous interview.
It's great to be with TulipTV, and my congratulations with TulipTV, and that's why I'm happy to be here with tulips in the background, as you can see. And I'd like to talk briefly about the wonderful relationship between Canada and the Netherlands, which really goes back to the Second World War between 1940 and 1945, when our country, the Netherlands, was occupied. And after those 5 dark years, we were liberated by brave Canadian men and women in uniform, liberating our country and returning freedom and democracy to our country, something for which we remain deeply grateful to this very day. After the war, of course, many people came from the Netherlands to Canada, and that is why today, out of Canada's total population of 34 million people, 1 million people are of Dutch descent, and most of them have done very well in this wonderful country and built up a new life. And that also for that reason we have these wonderful relations today in the political field, in the economic field and in the cultural field. We do a lot of things together. We have the same history, a shared history, and we share the same values. And economically we have a lot together. The Netherlands is the second largest investor in Canada. And in terms of trade, we concentrate on 5 priorities. We try to work with Canada in the field of energy, water management, waste management, agriculture and horticulture, and soil remediation. There are many opportunities also for Canadian companies in the Netherlands and the other way around, and that's why we are trying together to take our relationship to an even higher level. And so I'm very pleased to be with TulipTV today and wishing you all a very happy Queen's Day. Thank you.
We have Koninginnedag around the corner, so obviously there's a massive focus on festivities around these celebrations. Renske, what did you do in the past to celebrate this?
April 30th, every year, all Dutch people go out in the street, we wear orange, we go a little bit crazy, start drinking early, and especially Amsterdam is the place to be at Koninginnedag because everybody is selling their things in front of their houses. It's just one big street party.
I think what a lot of people don't realize is that there's a royal connection with Canada. Our own Princess Margriet actually was born here in Ottawa, and the place that she was actually born in the hospital, is now considered sovereign ground in Canada.
Too bad we cannot be in Holland this year for Koninginnedag, but here's a little documentary about the royal family and their history. This film is brought to you by het Nederlandse ministerie van Buitenlandse Zaken.
Is a small country. It's a modern country, but it's also a kingdom. A queen who is a member of the House of Orange reigns over the Netherlands. Even so, it's a proper democracy, and it has been for centuries. The Dutch like to think they're down to earth, with their feet firmly on the ground. And yet, every year, on the 30th of April, when our Queen celebrates her birthday, everyone goes a little crazy. It's our way of showing our pride in the House of Orange. On the Queen's birthday, we want to feel a sense of unity.
Nederland heeft zijn koningin op haar eerste verjaardag als koningin op spontane en hartelijke wijze gehuldigd.
As if we want to share an identity. We want to belong together, flying a single color, orange.
5 minuten in de tweede helft. De bal komt bij Bergkamp. Weer die prachtige bewegingen. Cocu.
Orange is the color of the Netherlands, our color.
Vele deputaties boden Hare Majesteit op het bordes van het paleis geschenken aan. De prinsessen Beatrix...
Why is that? Why do the down-to-earth Dutch act like that? Why is the House of Orange so important to our national identity? Why are the ties between the House of Orange and the Netherlands so close? Why do the Dutch identify so strongly with that family and with the color orange? First of all, there is the past. At school, children learn that William of Orange was the father of the nation. He inherited the French Principality of Orange and the title Prince of Orange. That's how the color orange became Dutch.
Dit schilderij is een beetje bijzonder. Mijn moeder had het altijd in haar werkkamer hangen, op Soestdijk. En bij mijn inhuldiging heeft zij mij dit cadeau gedaan. Dus het was voor mij wel een schilderij wat een hele belangrijke plaats, bijzondere plaats in mijn werkkamer moest krijgen. Maar het domineert nogal.
In the 16th century, the Netherlands was ruled by Spain, a mighty Catholic power. The King of Spain appointed William as his representative, his stadtholder, in Holland. Dutch Protestants were oppressed under the Spanish Inquisition. They were persecuted because of their religion. So William of Orange turned against his king and led the revolt against mighty Spain. King Philip II of Spain was furious at his representative in Holland and outlawed him. That is why William of Orange, the father of the nation, was assassinated in Delft. After his death, he became a national hero. After 80 years of war, the Netherlands managed to free itself from Spanish tyranny, thanks to the strategic and political know-how of William's sons, Maurits and Frederik Hendrik.
Canada to Leave is the online community for the Dutch living in Canada and the Canadians living in the Netherlands. Canada to Leave, wherever you live. This program is sponsored by Dutch, the full-color English language magazine about the Netherlands and its people, at home and abroad.
In the 17th century, the Netherlands flourished. It engaged in trade all over the world and established colonies in Asia and America. The House of Orange basked in the wealth and glory of the Dutch Golden Age. Take a look at this room in Huis ten Bosch Palace in The Hague, for instance. The members of the House of Orange are depicted as invincible, almost mythical figures. The Oranjezaal, the House of Orange Gallery, was built by Frederik Hendrik's wife, Amalia von Solms, who was very astute in arranging marriages for her children. The House of Orange thus forged dynastic ties in Britain and Germany. Her daughter, Louise Henriette, married the Great Elector of Brandenburg, and her son, William II, married into the British royal house. Amalia's grandson, William III, even became King of England, Scotland, Ireland and Wales, sharing the throne with his wife, Queen Mary II. During the Glorious Revolution, William III drove his father-in-law, the Catholic King James II, from the throne. He gave the British Parliament the privileges it still enjoys. In this way, he contributed to the emergence of democracy in the UK. William III, the stadtholder king, served as a model for the Netherlands' first queen. That was Queen Wilhelmina. She was a source of inspiration to the Dutch resistance during the Second World War. The Netherlands was occupied by Nazi Germany. Wilhelmina had to flee to England. She led the government in exile. She did so with such strength that Churchill called her the only man in the government. And that was quite a compliment.
Landgenoten in Nederland.
Wilhelmina's rousing anti-Nazi speeches on Radio Orange gave the Dutch courage in those dark, fearful days. When Wilhelmina returned to the Netherlands after the war, she received a hero's welcome. She is known as the mother of the nation. The members of the House of Orange are no longer involved in military conflicts, so heroism is a thing of the past. And yet, we need role models of a different kind. Prince Claus, Queen Beatrix's late husband, devoted his life to helping the Third World, the poor and the weak. He campaigned for justice. Prince Claus cast off the straitjacket of protocol, literally. That also took courage. Claus's popularity grew over the years. When he first arrived in the Netherlands, the Dutch were unenthusiastic. He was mistrusted because he was German.
Not many men marry queens, and here's a young man who is going to do it. Could you give us a word of advice to him in public so that we know what you feel he's in for?
I could give her quite a lot of advice, but I know my daughter extremely well. She has a very forceful character, and I would advise him not to let her get the better of him.
Your Majesty.
De trouwdag van de 10e maart ziet een feestelijk versierde dam wijds aan de voeten van het Koninklijk Paleis met een gouden koets gereed om het bruidspaar door Amsterdam te rijden. Het grote moment. Hoe ziet de bruid eruit? Hoe is haar boeket? Hoe haar hoofdtooi?
Beatrix and Claus married in the mid-60s in rebellious, turbulent times. During their tour of Amsterdam, demonstrators threw smoke bombs at the Golden Coach. It was a time of student demonstrations and protest against everything that stood for tradition and authority. But Prince Claus soon learned to speak Dutch. He was unassuming by nature, and by the time his 3 sons were born, the Dutch had welcomed him as their own. Because the Orange Nassaus are an ordinary family, a family we can identify with. The Dutch find both pathos and heroics a little ridiculous, and they don't like too much show. The royal family avoids pomp and circumstance. Like everyone else, they would simply get on their bikes to go and visit their grandmother. Prince Bernhard is not afraid of showing his feelings. And Prince Willem-Alexander's enthusiasm is a quality the Dutch like and admire. When Willem-Alexander announced his engagement to Maxima Zorregieta, the whole country shared in their happiness. Shaking hands with people, sharing their feelings with them. The House of Orange has created a bond with the nation by mingling with the public. We usually see Queen Beatrix performing her formal duties, but she is a woman of compassion. In times of national tragedy, she represents the entire nation and shares in our grief and sorrow. At times like these, she gives comfort and solace. Collectors of House of Orange memorabilia are passionate about their collections. The House of Orange is part of their identity. Births, marriages, deaths and christenings in the royal family are national events. They affect us all. When Prince Klaus died, we felt we had lost a member of our own family. His funeral was an expression of our shared grief. The royal family and the people. It might seem we are one, but there are times that we are kept out. From talks at the palace between the Queen and the ministers, for instance. Just how much power does the Queen wield? Most countries have an elected head of state, a president, for instance, but the Queen is our head of state. The Prime Minister, the most important person in the Dutch government, reports to the Queen every week.
This program is sponsored by Dutch, the full-color English language magazine about the Netherlands and its people, at home and abroad.
The Dutch monarch is part of the government, but he or she is not elected, because the throne is inherited. An heir to the throne is born, not made. Over time, the monarch's political role has become smaller. Beatrix is primarily an advisor and source of inspiration.
Je kunt aandacht vragen voor dingen. En daarvoor is het goed om de problemen zo goed mogelijk te kennen en zo goed mogelijk te begrijpen waarom iets misgaat of in de knel komt of waarom mensen iets als een probleem ervaren. Het is ook soms moeilijk om te accepteren dat mijn rol eenmaal een andere is. Je moet het concreet aanpakken van problemen, het oplossingen zoeken, eigenlijk aan anderen overlaten.
This curious form of government, where the Queen is the head of state, but the ministers bear political responsibility, developed as the power of the House of Orange evolved.
Holland is keine Monarchie. Holland ist eine Republik mit einem erblichen Fürst, der in engem Kontakt mit dem Volk steht.
Queen Beatrix has many facets. She gives the traditional inscrutability of monarchy a human face. Though conscious of her royal duties, she remains human and accessible. And there is always that important task to fulfill, to represent the Netherlands with dignity. And to do that in the tradition of her illustrious ancestors, Queen Wilhelmina, Stadtholder King William III, and of course, the father of the nation, William of Orange.
alles is zo hard. De wereld is ontzettend hard. En wat heb je nou voor moois en voor romantiek en voor... ik vind het geweldig als er Alexander trouwt. En dan gaan we de koets, sprookjesachtig. Ja, dat vind ik gewoon, dat verdienen we ook gewoon, dat verdienen hun ook. Dat vind ik machtig.
Maxima Sorgieta, kroonprins Willem-Alexander, prinses Maxima naar vandaag.
The Netherlands and the House of Orange, a fairy tale a whole nation believes in. We cherish our royal house. A 19th century commentator once said that there is something behind the throne that is greater than the king. As long as the members of the House of Orange enable us to experience that greatness, the House of Orange will be one with the nation.
We'll see you next week, but first we want to stress how viewers like you can help us, right, Tom?
Exactly, and the best way to do that is to follow us on Facebook, Twitter and on YouTube, and of course by talking to your friends about TulipTV.
We are independent producers and we do not receive any funding. So what you can do is go to our website and click on donations, or you can email us if you or your company is interested in sponsoring us.
Right, that's the end of our show. Have a wonderful Koninginnedag en tot volgende week.
Dag allemaal!